Right. Good evening, everyone. Colleagues, this is Gateway Primary School. Those who never visited the school, and I believe the small picture that was very much popular to this afternoon, one of our colleagues have mentioned that it's coming from Gateway Primary School, but it is inside. But this is the outside of the school. The name of the school is Gateway Primary School, as mentioned, and the motto of the school is the road to success. Just a brief history about the school. The school started in 2012 after a very strong need, a need that was an extension of a housing project from Langa that is called N2 Gateway. That project extended to the Delft area, to an area called N2 Gateway as well in the Delft area. That is a very fast growing area. Then in 2012, there was a need for an introduction of that school, and the school was started with about 400 learners from the start. Learners that were coming within the province, but some of them, as we all know, that the challenge that we are facing in the province is learners that are coming from other various provinces, especially the province of the Eastern Cape. So at the beginning of the year, the school started with 400 learners and with about 12 educators. But towards the end of the year, when I arrived at the school as a newly appointed principal, the school was sitting with around 700 learners, with plus minus 12 educators as well. Now, today, counting down from 2012 to 2018, the school is sitting with 1,600 learners. With 45, it's not 36, we're sitting with 45 educators. Now, colleagues, we can see the challenge. A new school, new learners coming from failures from various schools within the province, learners coming from outside the province, bused from the Eastern Cape to the province because their parents are here and coming from the other various provinces. Now, new principal, newly appointed principal. I never had an opportunity to become a deputy principal. I came from an engine room, from an HOD post, and I went straight and became a principal. Now it's a new school, new learners, newly elected governing body, newly appointed principal, and new kid on the block who never became a deputy principal but went straight to a principal post. Now, colleagues, when I joined Partners for Possibilities, in fact, when we started with the school, we immediately started with the extramural activity codes. And after joining Partners for Possibilities, we started a program called an Afternoon Game Changer, because it has been picked up that we have about 1,600 learners, but very few learners that are taking part in extra. We have less codes that allows more opportunities for more learners to take part into those programs. And the question, after attending one of the trainings, the question that I came back with was, what about the educators? Because in the program called RQMS, there is a section for extramural activities, and they are getting scores, and there is funds pumped in by the Department of Education to pay in those educators. What are they doing? So through the support of Partners for Possibilities, as well as through the program that came from the Office of the Chief Director of Districts, we started the program called an Afternoon Game Changer. We introduced a lot of codes. We started with the soccer team. We have about 4 to 5 soccer teams right now, different age levels. Here is an example of that. There is educators. We have got very young educators as well. That's another thing that I forgot to mention, that when I was mentioning new things, the new school, the new staff as well. The gateway started at the time when the Department of Education was putting more pressure to schools to employ the newly appointed educators, the bursary holders. So we started, that was another challenge. We started that school with mostly students coming from universities and colleges. Here is an example of that. And we have, in the new codes that we started, we also have a soccer team for girls as well. And I believe we're the only school in the Delft area that has got that. We have handball as well. We have handball as well that we have already started. There are a few schools that are also taking part with that. We have number of choirs, as our neighboring school was mentioning. We have a senior choir. We have infants choir, which is the little ones, the grade R's, grade 1s, grade 2s. That performed very well in the Easterford this year. We have the boys choir. This is not a drawing. This is a picture of a true trophy. This is a trophy that was awarded to the boys choir as provincial championships of the Western Cape. Nice. And this choir, if I'm not mistaken, on the 26th of this month, this choir will be presenting at national level to represent the Western Cape.
Yes, well
The
done.
Delft area, the houses, the people that stays in the Delft area, especially in our area, it's RDB houses, the very low income houses. You can see the challenges from that area. There's very high level of unemployment. There's very high level of alcohol consumption. There's very high level of unemployment. There's very high level of drug abuse. Mr. Sodamsi can confirm that. There's That's why the majority of those 1.6 learners are beneficiaries of the Peninsula Feeding Scheme because of the poverty index of the area. We picked up that some of the children come to school with empty stomachs. And through the support from Peninsula Feeding Scheme, then Peninsula Feeding Scheme extended the arm to say, provide food parcels as well, so that when they go home, at least there must be something to eat as well. But under those very difficult, strenuous circumstances, we manage to deliver quality teaching and learning. And recently in the district awards for the external examination called systematic evaluation, we received awards for a better improvement in languages and mathematics in the foundation phase, as well as an excellent improvement in mathematics for the grade 6s. So we've got those awards. So we're trying our best. Why Partners for Possibilities? As a new principal, I looked for support in dealing with day-to-day challenges. As I said that I came straight from the engine room. I never had an opportunity to become a deputy principal, which is a principal to be in the near future. But as a new principal to deal with the day-to-day challenges, I lie and I put my hope on Partners for Possibilities. And I've also mentioned something about the severe unemployment in the area. The program has also equipped me to break down barriers to communication, help me to embrace the opportunities for influential leadership, change my thinking on involving the community, which is now, with those codes that we have introduced, some of those codes, there's something that never came to my mind, that we have parents who have skills in the community and who can make kind of a positive contribution in the holistic development of the children. Some of those codes, we get coaching from the parents in the community. help us in shaping my identity as a principal of Gateway Primary School. Right, through the ongoing partnership, which I believe that, as we agreed in one of our last meetings, that Joe, we will carry on with this partner as this cohort. We will carry on because we picked up that at least it can take us to another level. At least challenges that I cannot be able to address on my own. But through the networking, through the connection, through discussing and sharing with my colleagues, some of the problems can be addressed. So, to build on the foundation that has been laid through Partners for Possibilities, look forward to learning practical skills, that is financial management and processes, improvement, conflict resolution, and from within our cycle. Contribute by sharing my acquired knowledge and involving my colleagues, make a noticeable change to the lives of our learners and the community.
Thank you, Mlandeli. So, I think you can certainly give Mlandeli a round of applause. You know what, I feel like tonight's almost somber to a degree, and it's supposed to be a celebration. So I do want to encourage you to participate. I know there's an opportunity for questions and some discussion afterwards. And Joe, just in case nobody does this, I would like to thank you for your hard work in the circle. And I want to ask everybody to please give Joe a round of applause. I have no doubt that Louise will say something afterwards, but you know, you've been amazing. Just meeting you it lights up my day, and sometimes that takes a lot. And just the way in which you have coached us and guided us and pulled us and pushed us along has been incredible. So I think a lot of the credit goes to you, and you need to know that. Ladies and gentlemen, your presentations tonight have touched my heart, and as Louise will tell you, as an Afrikaner male, that's difficult to do. A white Afrikaner male, I'll have to say. A rugby player. And you have, you know, John, what you have said about the testimony you gave, and I've got boys as well, and the testimony you gave with your son being here tonight was powerful. You know, those are things that in my mind that matters. So I'm not going to speak for long. I didn't prepare an extended presentation, but I do want to tell you a story. I'm not going to tell you about our partnership per se. You're looking at an amazing man that does amazing things in very difficult and trying circumstances. So the first thing that I want to show you, and it's a little video clip. Will it just play if I before school started, and just to experience what school like before the bell rings. And so those pictures I took up there is what I found. You know, I found children who probably don't get fed at home, and this is the one meal they get in the morning. And just watching them appreciate and being grateful for what they received. And this lady with such a smile, willing to make sandwiches for lunch, and she just served out all the porridge. And then as the bell rings, Mlandeli goes out into the street like a shepherd, and he calls all the children that's late, and you couldn't hear it, but it's on the video clip. It's like a shepherd calling sheep. It's whoa, 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 and he calls everybody in. And that for me was so special. In the background I heard all the children singing in the classrooms, those that were already there. And as I stepped out into this road, and you look down this road, you see ladies from the community who's organized themselves to safeguard the children from their homes all the way to the school. So they man the corner of blocks so that the children has a visual reference from one person to the next, and they can safely navigate to school. And then these ladies sit here in this open area over here. This is where they sit, and they wait until school finishes, and then they escort the kids home again. And that for me was just so incredible. So for me, Partners for Possibility was not so much about the advice I could give Mlandeli, or from what I could learn from Mlandeli, because I certainly did. The encouragement I want to give you, it's a story I want to tell, and as we reflect on the past and the present and the future, I'm not big on quotes, by the way. I do read. It's not that I don't read. I do read. I just don't remember very long. So when Joe phoned me for a quote, she caught me there. I just couldn't think of something, but you did summarize it well. And the story I want to tell you comes from our conversation. So it's a story of indifference, or shall I rather say the perils of indifference. It's a true story of a guy called Eli Wiesel. He was born in 1928 in Romania. And at the tender age of 12, the area in which they lived was transferred to Hungary. And it was at the start of the Second World War, and he was captured by the Germans. And he was separated at such a tender age from his mother and his sister, and him and his father were sent off to the concentration camps, where they were beaten and mistreated, as we know what happened in those times. And so, just before he got liberated, his father died, and he never saw any of his family again. Eli won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1968, and he also has the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Congressional Gold Medal. And Hillary Clinton asked him in 1999 to come and address Congress. And it's the first time he was able to do this. By the way, when he came out, when he was liberated, when he was released from the concentration camps, he was free, but he never felt that he would ever be happy again. And it took him quite some time, moved to France, became a journalist. And he also held combined professorships at Yale and at Boston University and in New York. He's an incredible individual. So here he is addressing Congress, and he talks about the perils of indifference. And I want to just read one or two things that caught my eye. And it's encouragement to you, because I think it's what all of us do. We're not indifferent. We do care, and it makes a difference. He says, being in those concentration camps, what was almost worst for him was not so much the suffering he went through than the thought of abandonment. The thought that nobody cared. The rest of the world did not care. He said that he could not, it was far worse than the suffering he endured. So give me 1 second. I want to get to the right spot. I didn't memorize this. So he talks about indifference, and he says, indifference can be tempting. More than that, it's seductive. It is so much easier to look away from victims. It's so much easier to avoid such rude interruptions to our work, our dreams, our hopes. It is, after all, awkward, troublesome to be involved in another person's pain and despair. Yet, for the person who is indifferent, his or her neighbors are of no consequence, and therefore their lives are meaningless. Their hidden or even visible anguish is of no interest. Indifference reduces the other to an abstraction. So he says he can deal with anger. You know, anger can be good. People write songs about anger, they write poems, they do things in anger. But when you're indifferent, you do nothing. You become inhuman. And so what I'd like to do tonight, as a celebration, I guess, for what's been done over the past year and all the wonderful stories that you guys have shared, is just to encourage us all to never be indifferent, because we can all make a difference. When I paid a visit to Gateway Primary School, the thought that was in my mind had nothing to do with me or even Mlandeli. It had to do with, what do these children think running into school today? When they see me standing there, a white Afrikaner male with his cell phone taking a picture, what is he thinking? What lies ahead for him today? What's his future like? And you cannot not care about that. So I would like to thank all of you. I learned so much from each of you. That picture, by the way, I wasn't photoshopped in there. It was my attempt at a selfie. So the camera was quite close to my face, but it does look like I've been photoshopped. I'd like to thank each one of you because I learned so much. Thank you.